How then is it possible that Methodism, the religion of the heart, should continue? For the Methodists in every place grow diligent and frugal. Consequently, they increase in goods. Hence, they proportionately increase in pride, in anger, in the desire of the flesh, the desire of the eyes, and the pride of life. So the form of the religion remains, but the spirit is swiftly vanishing away. What way then can we take that our money may not sink us to the nethermost hell? There is one way, and there is no other under heaven. If those who gain all they can and save all they can will likewise give all they can, then the more they gain, the more they will grow in grace, and the more treasure they will lay up in heaven.
Wesley's sermon on the use of money is a helpful starting point in understanding his rules for the use of wealth. Number one, earn all you can. We hardly need to be encouraged to follow that rule, do we? But a closer reading of Wesley will reveal that he had something very different in mind than the aggressive acquisitiveness that characterizes much of American society. His sermon, in fact, is a polemic against destructive ways of earning. He warns against earning money by hurting oneself or others or the world about us. For Wesley, work is a means of participating in God's creative and healing activity in the world. Gaining all we can is participation in God's efforts to heal and redeem all creation. Our labor is part of the giving, not the means to personal gain. Therefore, earning all we can is a call to give ourselves to God's mission in the world.
For instance, my training my daughter to volunteer in working with children as opposed to spending her Saturdays at the mall is teaching her that she's responding to God's grace.
And teaching her to give.
And teaching her to give, okay.
Mm-hmm. And how you help your daughter choose her vocation, for example. Wesley's concept of earn all you can was not just choose a vocation on the basis of how much, what pays the most, but earn all you can that could, in a way that contributes to the life of the world or that contributes to God's mission.
Well, I told her I wanted her to be a doctor, so can she earn a lot and do both? Yeah.
Having gained all you can by honest wisdom and unwearied diligence, John Wesley says, save all you can. Again, Wesley's emphasis is a challenge to the contemporary practice of accumulating and hoarding rather than an endorsement of the practice. Wesley warned the people called Methodists about building up large savings accounts. He even compared such a practice to throwing your money into the sea. His call to save all you can is really a call to a simplified lifestyle. It's a warning to avoid opulence, self-indulgence, and extravagance. Wesley's lists of superfluous expenses would indict most of us. Expensive furniture, clothing, entertainment, unnecessary foods and books, and even what he called elegant gardens. Wesley could not justify acquiring luxuries while poor people lacked the necessities of life. He strongly denounced opulence as an affront to God and considered that anything we have that is unnecessary as being extracted from the blood of the poor. Stewardship in the Wesleyan tradition includes not merely using what we have, but what we choose not to have in order for others to have the necessities for living. Are we willing to earn less on our stock investments in order to relieve the burden on the economies of the third world? Are we willing to pay more for Nike shoes in order for workers in Asia or Africa to receive a decent wage? Are we willing to simplify our living so that others might simply live? Wesley would respond with a resounding, yes, we must.
As a for instance, if I invest in the stock market and things go very well and I get a lot of money, and I decide to buy a big car instead of a medium-sized car, is that extravagance? I mean, I've got the money.
Wesley's whole understanding of money would be a challenge to what we would call today consumerism. The feeling that we have to have more and more in order to be somebody. Wesley's third rule for the use of money gives meaning to the first two. We are to earn all we can and save all we can so that we can give all we can.
Save all you can by cutting off every expense which serves only to indulge foolish desire, to gratify either the desire of the flesh, the desire of the eye, or the pride of life. Waste nothing on sin or folly, whether for yourself or your children, and then give all you can, or in other words, give all you have to God.
I know Wesley was alone, and sometimes he didn't have the responsibilities we have nowadays with a wife and children, and so I'm trying to earn all I can and save and give, but it's just not quite the same.
Well, it is a different context, isn't it? Because Wesley's life was different from our life, but the principles are the important thing, and I think Wesley himself emphasized the importance of you take care of your family and those closest to you. That's a primary responsibility. And it does begin to get into the whole business of balance again. And I recognize that we live in a different social and economic context where when you get out of school you have already a lot of indebtedness, which Wesley didn't have. You have a different tax system than we have now. But the principle, I think, is what we have to keep before us all the time, and that is that we earn all we can, that is, we contribute. It's not just the products of our earning, it's how we earn it. See, your very life, your very job as a pastor is a part of the earning. You're giving by your very existence and your very vocation. So that it isn't a matter of just what you have left over, it's your whole contribution.
That's it. There are other ways of giving besides money.
In addition to money. Giving for Wesley is rooted in the very nature and activity of God. Giving is an expression of grace, which is all in all. God's very nature is love, which is the emptying of oneself on behalf of others, the giving of life, abundant and full life. Grace, God's unmerited love poured out to humanity supremely in Jesus Christ, is who God is. Love for God, therefore, inevitably involves giving of oneself to God and the neighbor. One cannot love without giving. Wesley observed that, almost unconsciously, wealth changes our priorities and changes our relationships. It tends to give us a false sense of independence and self-reliance. We begin to assume that we have done it, that we are in control. We lose the ability to receive and the ability to give.
At this Christmas season, we usually distribute coals and bread among the poor of the society. But I now considered they wanted clothes as well as food. So on this and the 4 following days, I walked through the town and begged 200 pounds in order to clothe them that needed it most. But it was hard work, as most of the streets were filled with melting snow, which often lay ankle deep, so that my feet were steeped in snow water nearly from morning till evening.
His concern for the poor was holistic. Yes, he preached the gospel to them and called them to conversion and nurtured them in class meetings. But he also developed a free health clinic, started a school, a sewing cooperative, and a lending agency for the poor. They were his friends and special friends of Jesus. So giving to them and for them as a means of serving Christ was his lifelong passion. Affluence, according to Wesley, tends to separate us from the poor, and in so doing separates us from God and diminishes our motivation for giving. However, when the poor are considered to be our friends, even members of our family and special friends of Christ, then giving to alleviate their suffering can be a joyful passion and a glad participation in Christ's ministry.